Recap. Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 565. Chapter Chinmu brought little dragon Jiang Miao out through the spirit energy mutual shift bridge and cast his gaze across the surroundings. In that instant, a surge of astonishment rose uncontrollably within his heart. The spirit energy mutual shift bridge of the great ruins stood precisely at its heart, like a hub of fate. On both sides of the sacrificial altar stretched two stone-paved roads, each 100 yards wide, extending into the distance. Encircling the bridge were ancient temples, solemn shrines, and towering divine palaces, arranged like a vast city, one that surpassed Border Dragon City by more than double in size. People flowed endlessly through the streets, their footsteps weaving a lively, bustling tapestry of life. These temples and relics had all been relocated from across the great ruins, gathered here to stand against the encroaching darkness. Countless stone statues received unceasing worship, with incense smoke curling upward in thick, reverent streams. Many villages had taken root within this city, no longer forced to struggle for survival with each passing day. They had become merchants, bridging the lands between Middle-earth and West-earth. A primary school and a college had also been established, passing down techniques and divine arts, yet they lacked sacred grounds comparable to the 4 great academies or the Imperial College. Beyond the city lay immense ruins, prepared as sanctuaries for the strange beasts of the surrounding lands, allowing them refuge from the darkness. The arrangements were meticulous and thoughtful. Within this city, the old and the new coexisted in a picturesque disorder, each enhancing the other's presence. With only a brief glance, Chinmu could already discern that the one who designed this place possessed refined culture, profound self-cultivation, and exceptional talent in city planning. Their sense of beauty had reached extraordinary heights. New branches sprouting from an ancient tree, the contrast between past and present intertwined, truly remarkable. Perhaps I have seen too many crooked and chaotic constructions in Supreme Emperor Heaven, that the great ruins now feels far more like home. Behind him the chest burst forth from the spirit energy mutual shift bridge. Chinmu shook his head slightly. The chest clung to him relentlessly. Since the dragon Qilin and Hu Linga had been taken to the battlefield for training, it had followed him everywhere without fail. Cult Master, I can feel the call of the divine dragon once more, Jiang Miao said after surveying the area. Follow me. His body trembled, and in a flash he transformed into a small dragon. With a flick of his tail, he soared out of the city. Chinmu, carrying the chest, chased after him as they plunged into the depths of the great ruins. Though Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had completed the roads connecting West Earth, the great ruins, and Eternal Peace, vast stretches of land still lay uninhabited and shrouded in mystery. Chinmu followed Jiang Miao deeper into the great ruins. They crossed mountains and rivers, stepping over fragments of ancient ruins scattered across the land. When night descended, he let Jiang Miao rest atop the chest while he walked forward through the darkness. The chest trailed closely behind. The great ruins at night bore no resemblance to its daytime visage. As Chinmu walked alone through the darkness, he could perceive the shadowed form of Supreme Emperor Heaven and countless devils drifting unpredictably within it. They moved alongside him, sometimes leaping onto trees, sometimes hiding behind rocks, observing in silence yet never daring to approach. These devils, they are not from Supreme Emperor Heaven. The darkness within the great ruins is not solely that realm. Chinmu's heart trembled with shock. He had once believed that all devils within the darkness of the great ruins came from Supreme Emperor Heaven, that he had already uncovered its secrets. Yet now it was clear. The devils before him bore no connection to that world. In Supreme Emperor Heaven, when its people gazed into the darkness of the great ruins, they could only perceive indistinct shadows. Back then, Sanghua had seen Chinmu as a figure of darkness, and when the time came, he scattered like grains of black sand. Likewise, when Chinmu observed Supreme Emperor Heaven through the darkness, he saw its inhabitants as shadowy figures. The two realms existed apart, unable to touch or interact. Yet the creatures in the darkness of the great ruins were different. They truly existed within this darkness. The secrets hidden within the great ruins are far too many. Chinmu sighed softly as Jiang Miao indicated the direction. They continued onward. 2 days later, As the sun rose over the northwest region of the great ruins, Chinmu swept his gaze across the land and smiled. "This place is not far from Paramita Ark. I once drove the moonship through here. Look, there lies its footprint." The massive imprint had long since become a small lake, where strange fish now swam lazily within its waters. The call of the divine dragon is nearby. Jiang Miao soared into the sky, scanned the horizon, and then flew westward. Chinmu quickly followed. They arrived at a canyon, where all sound abruptly vanished. Silence pressed in from all directions. Chinmu frowned, his gaze sharp as he examined their surroundings. He reached out and pulled back Jiang Miao, who was about to rush into the canyon under the pull of the dragon's call. "Stay calm. Do not be carried away." Jiang Miao looked at him in confusion. Chinmu's eyes swept across the land before settling upon the remnants of the moonship's tracks. This is where Paramita Ark was sealed. It was a vessel forged by the Heavenly Works god race for migration. They intended to carry all life from their land along with the gods and devils of the founding Emperor Era to Carefree Village. Yet it was struck down by brute force and crashed here. The so-called call of the divine dragon may not be real. There should not be a single strange beast in this place. When he had once passed through here with the moonship, he had entered the overlapping space that sealed Paramita Ark. The footprints of the moonship ended precisely where they now stood. Back then, countless monsters and devil gods had surged forth, attacking the moonship in waves, many losing their lives in the process. Yet now, not even a single bone remained. Before the lakes of the canyon, the land was blanketed in sand, so fine that not even a fingernail-sized stone could be found. On the canyon walls, massive characters were carved, yet they were not of human origin. Instead of square shapes, they formed intricate and complex runes. Chinmu did not enter. He stood at the canyon's edge, studying the runes. This is a form of divine script used for sealing. He activated the 10,000 spirit nature technique. Small whirlwinds rose within the canyon as he attempted to awaken a dune giant, yet the sand simply flowed and settled back into stillness. Impossible! The 10,000 spirit nature technique can bestow spirit upon all things. Why can it not awaken the sand and stone here? He crouched down and grasped a handful of yellow sand. A muffled grunt escaped his lips as he struggled to lift it. Jiang Miao, puzzled, tried to lift some as well. Each grain of sand weighed as heavily as a mountain. Chinmu spread his fingers, allowing the fine grains to fall. As they struck the ground, thunderous rumbles echoed. This is no ordinary sand. It is composed of spirit weapons. A single grain remained upon Chinmu's palm. He exhaled a breath of vital qi. Instantly, the grain soared into the air, expanding and swirling into a massive sandstone sphere spanning dozens of fields. As it cut through the sky, the roar of splitting air was deafening. When Chinmu's breath of vital qi was exhausted, the massive stone collapsed, shrinking back into a single grain of sand as it fell. Jiang Miao recoiled in shock, his eyes fixed on the endless sea of yellow sand. There were billions upon billions of such grains. If each held such weight and power, how terrifying would their combined might be? The divine scripts along the canyon walls serve as seals, suppressing the power of this sand. The moment we step inside, both the seals and the formation will activate. Chinmu opened his divine eyes and looked toward the sky. He exhaled gently, and mist spread across the heavens as rain began to fall. Yet the rain never reached the canyon. It was halted by an invisible barrier, forming cubic droplets suspended in mid-air. The seals here resemble those used on Paramita Ark. Entry from the sky is impossible. He rose into the air and peered deeper into the canyon, his brows knitting together. The canyon stretched over 10 miles, yet beyond that it abruptly vanished, as if severed. The rear of the canyon must be concealed. Chinmu felt a trace of unease. If Grandpa Blind were here, he might be able to decipher this. But with my current abilities, handling a god-level sealing and killing formation is far too difficult. It is exceedingly dangerous. Jiang Miao, we must retreat. We cannot enter. Jiang Miao's expression dimmed with disappointment. Yet knowing his strength was far inferior to Chinmu's, he could only accept it. At that moment, Chinmu's expression shifted slightly. Before the lake, space suddenly tore open, revealing a door. Heaven and earth seemed to split apart. The sky appeared unchanged unless closely examined, Yet the earth trembled violently. Chunks of land emerged from nothingness, distancing themselves from the door until they lay 100 miles away. Then a familiar figure stepped out. The moment Qin saw him, a chill ran through his heart. Without hesitation, he turned to flee with Jiang Miao and the chest. Yet heaven and earth overlapped once more, dragging them back before the door. "Great Cult Master Qin," the figure spoke, his tone laced with both surprise and delight. "What a small world. You even brought a dragon, and my chest as well. Do not turn around. Keep your back to me." Qin felt the murderous intent pressing from behind him, freezing his smile in place. "Senior brother Xing An, you have already found the origin of the jade pendant, have you not? I did not deceive you. You did not lie. I indeed discovered many ruins bearing traces of the jade pendant." Xing An took out the mirror Lu Li had given him. With his back to Qin, he raised it and spoke coldly. "But you deliberately led me there, allowing that mischievous mute to trap me for half a year. Had I not ascended to godhood and forced him to realize his peril, who knows how long I would have remained imprisoned. The life and death book, it is in your possession, is it not?" Qin body was immobilized by Xing An's aura, yet his heart surged like a storm. Maintaining a calm expression, he replied, "The life and death book was taken by a young man. I must admit my shame. I was no match for him. He seized it by force." Xing An's gaze settled upon the mirror. Qin reflection appeared as usual, yet in the next instant the reflection slowly turned its head. Xing An's pupils contracted violently. Within the mirror, the youth's form shifted. A devil eye, brimming with destruction and malice, emerged upon Qin forehead. It slowly opened, clutching at his very soul. Xing An's hand trembled, and the mirror shattered with a sharp crack. He swiftly turned to look behind him. Qin still stood with his back facing him, unmoved, yet the Qin within the mirror had clearly turned around. Xing An's thoughts surged chaotically, his aura faltering for a brief instant. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, Qin grabbed the chest and the little dragon and dashed straight into the canyon. Translator Atlas Studios. Editor Atlas Studios. When Qin carried the chest and Jiang Miao into the canyon, his gaze swept across the towering cliffs, and he beheld streams of light coursing through the immense runes carved upon both sides. In the very next instant, all the sand within the canyon surged skyward, as though a boundless sandstorm had awakened from slumber. "Do not breathe," Qin roared, his voice like thunder echoing through the valley. "Seal every pore." Jiang Miao immediately grasped the danger. Without hesitation, he held his breath and sealed all the pores across his body. The sand filling the canyon was no ordinary yellow dust. It was composed of spirit weapons. Each grain possessed the terrifying ability to expand at any moment, swelling into colossal sandstone masses the size of dozens of fields. Should even a few grains slip into their nostrils, throat, or lungs, the consequences would be beyond horrific. If any grains entered their pores and burst outward, the devastation would be equally dreadful. At the very moment before the violent sand engulfed them, Qin poured his vital qi into his sword pellet. In an instant, it expanded, countless flying swords flowing like water, weaving together into a flawless metal sphere that enclosed them within. Even the most refined sword techniques would struggle to withstand such a relentless assault of sand. Qin knew he could not block every grain. Thus, he chose instead to transform his sword pellet into the most perfect sphere, an impenetrable defense. Back in Li City, he had already forged his flying swords to possess the nature of flowing water. Like Mute's sword pellets, it could assume any form at his will. To refine a weapon to such a degree, his forging skill could only be described as reaching the realm of gods. The instant Qin concealed himself within the sword pellet, the violent sand struck. In a heartbeat, countless grains slammed into the sphere, leaving behind numerous small dents. The materials Si Yunxiang had provided were of the highest grade. Though Qin had once complained about the swords being too heavy and difficult to wield, in this moment he silently thanked her. Without such superior materials, the sword pellet would have shattered upon the first impact. Even so, the sphere was hurled violently through the canyon, ricocheting from wall to wall at terrifying speed. Inside, Qin and Jiang Miao's bodies trembled violently. The sheer force of the collisions made them feel as though their internal organs were being torn apart. They nearly coughed up blood. Though shielded from the sand itself, the relentless impacts were almost unbearable. Chin-Mu pushed his control of the sword pellet's flowing water nature to its utmost limit. Each time a dent appeared, it would mend itself. Yet his vital chi was repeatedly shattered by the sandstorm, making it increasingly difficult to sustain the formation. The dents began to multiply. This killing formation is even more terrifying than I imagined. Despair crept into Chin-Mu's heart. When they had first stepped into the canyon, Xing-An had followed closely behind. He had reached out to seize the sword pellet when the violent sand surged toward him. His expression shifted slightly, and with a tremble of his fingers, divine arts erupted forth, blasting the sand away. Something is wrong with this sand. Wait, these are spirit weapons, not real sand. My body is that of a true god. Why should I fear such things? In an instant he discerned the truth. Having stepped into the god realm, he advanced deeper into the canyon, pursuing Chin-Mu's sword pellet, though far stronger than before. Every step he took was still fraught with difficulty. Yellow sand filled the air, assaulting him from all directions. Xing-An's hands moved ceaselessly, unleashing divine arts to repel the sand. Even when some grains slipped through, they merely caused pain. They could not truly harm his divine body. Suddenly, he felt his steps grow heavier. Glancing down, he realized that sand had fallen into his shoes. Xing-An halted, lifting his feet to shake it out. Yet more and more grains landed upon him, creeping upward like living creatures. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead as he exerted his strength to shake off the clinging sand. Meanwhile, thunderous explosions echoed without cease as Chin-Mu's sword pellet was battered about like a meteor. It was riddled with dents, on the verge of collapse. Soon, Xing-An's legs began to sink into the sand, making escape even more difficult. At the same time, Chin-Mu's sword pellet was battered out of shape, losing its stability. If that brat seeks death, I have no need to die with him. I will retreat first. Human King creation technique. With a low shout, Xing-An's body shrank to the size of a speck of dust, intending to evade burial beneath the sands. This technique originated from Pan Gong So, who had cultivated the great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures. Xing-An's mastery far surpassed both Pan Gong So and Chin-Mu. Yet the moment he shrank, the grains of sand expanded. Xing-An's expression froze. Before him, countless enormous stones surged forth like planets. Size was relative. Having shrunk countless times, the sand had grown correspondingly vast. What had been grains now became planet-sized masses crashing toward him. He felt as though he had fallen into a chaotic galaxy, vast, terrifying, and boundless. This is a killing formation meant for true gods. Its transformations turn star sand into constellations, shifting with my own changes. Xing-An groaned as he was caught between two planet-sized sand grains. The impact nearly forced blood from his throat. As they separated, more followed, striking him again and again without pause. Boom, boom. Boom! The collisions rang endlessly. Xing-An's face paled, and at last he could not suppress it. He spat out a mouthful of god blood. Though the sand grains were not true stars, their speed made the repeated impacts devastating, severely injuring him. With a roar, he unleashed his full power, blasting the star sand aside. Then, with a sudden surge, a river burst forth behind him, lifting him into the air. The river twisted and flowed, weaving between the star sand, narrowly evading the massive impacts. Xing-An exhaled in relief, but in that instant the star sand flared with brilliant light. In the heavens, beams of light connected, forming a vast and sinister eye composed of countless grains. Not good. Before he could react, a beam of light shot from the evil eye, striking him directly. The river beneath his feet collapsed, and he was thrown back, coughing blood. The sand alone was not powerful, but once combined, it became terrifying, capable of injuring even him. Across the galaxy-like expanse, countless star sand grains gathered, forming numerous eyes that floated in the sky. Beams of starlight shot in all directions, attacking him relentlessly. These beams were starlight sword chi, razor-sharp and deadly. Even Xing-An's divine body struggled to withstand them. I've been lured into the formation. I cannot escape now. Despair filled his heart. He turned his gaze toward Chin-Mu. The youth faced a similar predicament. The sword pellet had shattered. Yet Qin Mu used phantom illusion technique, transforming into a shadow to evade the attacks, barely sustaining himself. As for the chest and the little dragon, they had clearly been stored within his touty sack. With the star sand forming evil eyes, starlight sword qi surrounded them both. Xing'an dodged desperately, thinking, if this brat dies with me, it's not a loss. No, that's wrong. I've just become a god. Dying here with him would be a great loss. At that moment, Qin Mu suddenly halted. He raised his head to gaze at one of the star sand evil eyes, standing still as though resigned to fate, quietly awaiting death. Xing'an, with his powerful cultivation and divine body, could still endure. If he deciphered the transformation laws of the formation, escape might still be possible. Then suddenly, Qin Mu's body returned to normal. Raising his hand, he formed a mudra. A vast constellation of great overarching heavenly stars appeared, colliding with the incoming starlight sword qi. A wondrous transformation occurred. The starlight illuminated the constellation, causing its stars to blaze brilliantly. With a resounding hum, a thick beam of light erupted forth, shattering one of the star sand evil eyes. Xing'an was stunned. He recognized the technique. It was the great overarching heavenly stars palm force that Li Tianxing had once used against him. Though Li Tianxing had ultimately perished at his hands, the power of that divine art had been undeniable. Yet now, Qin Mu used it to counter the formation itself. It was astonishing. In the distance, Qin Mu continued advancing. With great overarching heavenly stars force field and palm force, he shattered evil eyes one after another, walking deeper into the canyon as though strolling leisurely. Xing'an attempted to imitate the technique, but he had only learned fragments of the great educational heavenly devil scriptures, not the complete art. How did that brat solve a formation capable of killing gods? Doubt filled his mind. After a long while, Qin Mu finally emerged from the 10-mile canyon, leaving the sea of yellow sand behind. He released Jiang Miao and the chest from his touty sack. Jiang Miao turned back, witnessing the swirling star sand evil eyes and flashing starlight sword qi. His heart trembled with shock. How had Qin Mu escaped? Qin Mu silently surveyed the surroundings. Yellow sand still flowed endlessly through the sky. Advancing further, he discovered the source, a massive cauldron brimming with sand. All 10 miles of deadly peril had originated from it. Beyond it stood a majestic palace, adorned with vermilion walls and glazed tiles, dragons and phoenixes carved in exquisite detail. It exuded an aura of sacred grandeur. Upon its eaves rested 10 divine beast sculptures, while at the front stood a figure riding a crane. Yet what was most peculiar were the chains, stretching from the palace into the depths of the canyon's cliffs. Despite their immense weight, they rattled faintly from time to time. Jiang Miao's eyes lit up. In a hushed voice, he said, "I can hear the call of the divine dragon. It comes from here. It's clearer now." Qin Mu could hear nothing. Perhaps only those of dragon bloodline could perceive it. "Do not rush in," Qin Mu cautioned. He approached the chains, examining one closely. As his hand brushed it, brilliant rune markings flared to life, scattering sparks into the air. He then studied the cliff's runes, god writings. Yet the 10-mile sand formation was a devil formation meant to refine even true gods to death. The fusion of divine and demonic methods was astonishingly intricate. To act naturally, to be unbound, that is the Tao. Whether god or devil, why should it concern me? Qin Mu said calmly, "Jiang Miao, this is the teaching of the Heavenly Saint cult. Extend your hand." Jiang Miao complied. Qin Mu used cinnabar to inscribe a rune upon his palm, nearly identical to the god writing on the wall. "Come," Qin Mu said, "let us enter." Though confused, Jiang Miao hurried inside. Within the hall, a divine dragon lay bound by massive chains that pierced through its body, locking it in place. The dragon was immense, majestic, sacred, exuding overwhelming dragon qi that inspired awe. It opened its eyes, gazing upon Qin Mu and Jiang Miao. Then, in a voice like thunder, it spoke. "My clansmen, you have finally arrived. Cultmaster, we must rescue this senior divine dragon at once," Jiang Miao urged. Qin Mu shook his head, his gaze fixed upon the chained dragon as he spoke gently. "Senior divine dragon, there is something I cannot understand. Why were you bound here by the founding master of my heavenly saint cult?"